another episode of the Ranger Gareth podcast. I'm joined today here by my friend for 11 years now.
Maybe 12.
Maybe 12.
We don't know yet.
Cooper Clausen.
Hi there.
Unofficial mayor of the North Side, the official representative of Edmonton's underclass, and hardcore sports enthusiast.
That's right. Not knowledgeable of anything else except that.
That's a lie. I've seen you pick locks.
Stabs.
And of course, this whole thing is a work of fiction, so none of this is admissible in a courtroom.
That's right.
Yeah, we didn't really come up with like a solid outline for what we're going to talk about today, but I figure there's enough weird stuff going on globally, but also close to home, that we could have an environmental news section. I don't have a name for it yet. If we come up with something catchy during this episode.
We don't know.
The Cooper Hour?
We don't know. You probably.
So you're going to have to be on here for every episode whenever I do the environmental news.
Yeah, well, it's actually the Ranger Gareth and, Coop's podcast.
Coops is the easiest nickname. It just flows off the tongue.
It does.
Rolls off the tongue. Wow, I don't know what flows off the tongue, but we're off to a brilliant start.
Something.
This is why I should have taken my Alpha Brain. Please sponsor me. If any of the nootropics want to get into the game here, you got some?
Ivermectin.
Does that stuff boost brain power?
No, it boosts all sorts of good
horsepower.
Stuff. Joe.
First thing we wanted to talk about today was the Iqaluit fuel supply in the water news.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's not from Canada or hasn't been paying attention to the news, October 12th, the city of Iqaluit, which is the capital of Nunavut, as my friend who lives up there pronounces it, since October 12th, they've had traces of fuel in their water supply, leading to it not being potable. You cannot drink that stuff.
Or perform surgery, because they sterilize stuff in water.
Oh, man.
So, only emergencies, only.
God. So, we're recording this on November 6th, so we're coming up on a month of Iqaluit not having proper water, and so far the city has spent, the city has had to spend $1.5 million trying to provide potable water for their citizens. So I believe they're under some water restrictions now. There are 8,000 residents that haven't been able to consume tap water since October 12th. And they believe that an underground fuel spill is what contaminated the water system. So most of the money has come from the city writing off the residents' water bills in October, some $965,000. Holy shit, that's expensive water.
It is. It is, considering all the water and fresh water sources near them.
Considering the fact that Canada has most of the world's fresh water, that's expensive water up there.
Yeah, hashtag Flint.
God. I can't imagine living on the East Coast. But yeah, so situation's not looking good in Iqaluit. We'll update you when more, information is available. But yeah, as of November 4th, things are still kind of fucked up there.
Right, yeah. They were saying that the precise source of the spill was possibly an old container, or however between the actual water source that seeped into the ground. But
that's the dangerous thing about groundwater. It's like, because pretty much any well, you can be contaminated from almost any direction, because
Right, isn't that how the Typhoid Mary thing? Isn't that, no, what's the thing? What was the thing?
Typhus?
Was it typhus? What was they narrowed it down to?
The water pump.
The water pump, right?
Yeah.
But that's because of people's hands contaminated.
Yeah, a lot of...
There's a secondary voice here, and I don't much care for it.
Well, we'll leave the second guest as a mystery for now.
Mystery, yes.
It makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
Now we can just hurl abuse into the abyss. And
right, yeah.
People aren't going to come rushing to the voice's aid because they have no idea who it is.
Or care about that voice.
Hey, don't speak about the abyss like that. Cancelled.
Right?
Another thing we wanted to talk about was the community of the future. Something that was supposed to change Edmonton forever, and that was the neighbourhood of Blatchford.
Larger than downtown.
Mind-blowing. So...
potential pneumatic garbage disposal.
Are you serious? Like the pneumatic message tubes?
That's I was like, we need to Google how the pneumatic garbage system was to work or has worked in other places, because it sounds really neat.
Okay, remind me of this before we finish the Blatchford segment, because...
Absolutely, because that's the part that I want to talk about, how neat that was, and also the geothermal potential of heating with the tubes under. All of this stuff has since been cancelled because funding, the pandemic.
We're going to get into the whole thing. So, for anyone that's not from Edmonton that listens, I don't know how many listeners I have. I think I have 12 right now.
You know what?
But if any one of those 12 people is not from Edmonton, Edmonton used to have an airport right in the middle of the city, creatively called the City Centre Airport. And when my family was poor, when we first came here, we would just sit outside the airport and watch the planes take off because, hey, free entertainment. But yeah, that airport was shut down, I believe, in the early 2000s.
Early 2000s. It is still used in some capacity. It's been ramped down, but it is still used. I remember my days at Nate. You know, airplanes coming soaring past.
It's a decade ago.
It's effectively been shut down for a long time, and I don't recall exactly how long ago they proposed the redevelopment, but the redevelopment was going to be the neighborhood of the future, and they were going to call it Blatchford. It was going to be one of the first truly engineered communities in Edmonton. So a lot of Edmonton's neighborhoods, didn't exactly have the most noble of beginnings. It was just, hey, a bunch of people lived here 100 years ago, and the city kind of just grew around that in a patchwork fashion. And back in the early 1900s when Edmonton was being settled, they weren't thinking, oh, what's going to happen when there are 100 times this many people in a century? So as a result, some of our older neighborhoods didn't exactly have the capacity or the forethought that was going to be going into this new neighborhood.
But they're all northwest quadrant. All of it. Entire city northwest.
We're talking all the best neighborhoods or all the worst neighborhoods?
All of them. All of them.
I mean, I think Strathcona might be one of the oldest neighborhoods. But Blatchford was supposed to be a carbon neutral community. It was supposed to have 2 LRT stations. It was supposed to have renewable energy. And the first residents moved in late 2020, but the original plan has changed quite a bit. So we're just looking on the wiki page right now.
Currently, though, there is 11 residents of Blatchford, somewhat down from the, I believe, 30,000 that they're shooting for.
That's the goal, 30,000. Is it actually only 11?
There's 11 now.
Oh,
11,
God.
Yeah, but 11 families, so
11
probably
families,
there's
okay.
at least 12 people there.
We could be generous and give it like 40 to 50 people.
Yeah.
If it's like 2 parents, 2 kids ish.
Done.
So yeah, Blatchford was supposed to have this renewable heating and cooling for all the buildings. It was supposed to have its own energy center. Let's see. So the energy center went online in November 2019, and that is the one that uses the geothermal heating. It was going to use sewer heat exchange in order to heat all the buildings. And it is supposed to be following green building codes, which means that they're going to use 37%, or they're going to be 37% more energy efficient than what's required in provincial building codes. They were going to have more natural stormwater retention ponds, a bunch of rain gardens, community gardens, and all of this stuff sounds great.
Amazing.
Until you see what it could have been, and then what it is now.
Right, the sinkhole.
So I am going to pull up a couple pictures. Sorry for anyone that is just listening. I will start doing a video podcast eventually, but we're just looking through the pictures. For anyone that wants to look it up, just type in Blatchford Master Plan, and you should be able to see a little PowerPoint that shows what the site used to look like. So we're looking at the old city center airport, what they wanted it to look like. So you see that one giant water feature there?
Yes.
Like that looks like it's, I don't know, 1 kilometer long, 800 meters long at least.
Yeah, it actually looks quite impressive, the entire community.
It does, and the LRT is supposed to sneak in, I believe, along that, so a block or 2 away from the actual water feature itself. And the water feature was supposed to, there were all kinds of big plans. The water feature was going to be used for rowing competitions. There was a lot of stuff that was planned for this. And it sounds amazing, and then you look at what the actual plan is looking like now. Do you see a difference in the water?
It's drastic.
Do you see a difference in what's going on here? I I see two sad stormwater ponds. I don't see this giant, idyllic kind of view. And I know there's usually a difference between the renders and the actual finished product.
Right.
But the water feature was supposed to be one of the major defining characteristics of this. And it even looks like, if you look up there are some wind turbines up on the top edge, just past the north side of the community. And I don't see that anywhere in the official final
Not at all.
design.
But there is a civic plaza.
Thank God. Thank God. So you were saying that the main reason why this was falling apart was just due to funding issues?
That was an assumption that I've made. Considering the last couple of years, I would imagine with everything that's happened, whether it's pandemic related, whether it's the cost of lumber, because for a while there it was nightmarish.
Yes. But the thing is, they've been working on this community since how long ago?
Oh, Stephen Mandel was a part of the original commissioning.
Oh, God. So that's at least 8 years removed. So let's see, the community was named Blatchford in 2012. 2011, the contract were awarded. Final approval was given in 2014, and so ground was broken back in 2015. So to blame it on the pandemic that really kicked off in 2020 seems like it seems like that's just a very convenient excuse.
Absolutely.
They had 5 years to get some serious work done. But what are some of the criticisms we have here? There were people lobbying against City Center Airport's closure.
Yeah. They wanted to use it still as an airport.
Which is reasonable. It's nice to have an airport in the middle of the city.
Yeah, an international airport I think would be cool. Like a lot of the major cities like O'Hare and I mean, even in Winnipeg, there's this in the middle of the city. It is functional.
What else? The architectural firm which created the original design criticized Edmonton and the city council for scaling back a lot of the sustainability features. The plan was made inferior by removing features such as the geothermal energy and pneumatic waste collection.
How cool
They
is
got
that?
rid of the pneumatic waste collection.
Right? Yeah, that was my favorite part.
Oh my god, just like those old...
It's like the Jetsons.
Yeah, you could just plop your garbage in a little chute and it's
Right?
gone.
I think it's a really... We need to Google what that actually does, though. Just in case there's a city that's actually employed it.
And then the architectural firm criticized the city for forcing them to defend their work at such a late stage of the planning phase. So...
I've heard other criticisms, well, in addition to this, about the price point of the units. I think they range for starter townhomes in Edmonton, in that area, for between like $540,000 and $620,000.
Yeah, my fiance and I were actually looking at it a while back just for fun, and some of the townhouses were, staggering. So we're on the Blatchford real estate page right now. Oh, hey, do you want to pay... They say it's a single family home, but it's row style housing. For $635,000, $715,000, $576,000, and
aesthetically though, they are nice looking units.
they're cool looking. You know what's missing in all these photos?
Square footage.
Yards.
As well. Yeah.
Yards. Do you have dogs? Do you have children? Because if so, everyone's just going to that shared civic plaza, and all of the 11 families are all sending their kids to the same one park.
Good thing they have 2 ponds though.
Good thing they have 2
Not one.
stinky stormwater ponds.
2 stormwater ponds. I mean, they could be nice. There'll be ducks. You know.
They could be.
Foliage. Nice foliage.
So we'll check back in with
The Abyss, who has joined us today and part of this podcast, she struggles with the term foliage. She can't say it. I just wanted to point that out to everyone.
It is a weird one because...
Do you say foliage?
I say foliage because that's how it's spelled.
Right? Can we have a guest appearance by the Abyss? Can you please say the word that we're talking about?
Foliage.
Foliage, like leftover tinfoil.
Yeah, like trees made of greasy baked potato wrappers.
That's right. That's right.
And that is it for the environmental news this week. We'll check back up in Blatchford in 10 years when there are 20 families living there.
Most of them just extensions of the existing 11. I think it is a cool idea had it been executed properly, just to be fair.
Yeah, that's a big if. And I think part of the issue, and it's something I've ranted about before, is the fact that this city doesn't know what it's trying to be. Right. And as a result, it has trouble finding a central vision. So, you have what I affectionately refer to as suburbia hell, like a lot of the new builds where they have 6 floor plans and they use the exact same 6 designs for 2,000 houses,
right?
And they all look the same, and there's very little street parking, and everything's crowded, and that's where a lot of the young money is going, because young people that are looking for a house are like, oh hey, well, I can't afford anything in the middle of the city, I'm gonna go live in, I don't want to single out any single neighborhood, but anyone that lives in Edmonton or any major city knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Those houses, the ones where, you have a tiny yard and your houses are so close together you have to turn sideways to walk into your backyard.
Right. Cookie cutter, type of deal.
Yeah, that kills me. But
it works in Eastern Bloc. Moscow seems to love it.
And so we have that style of housing in Edmonton. We have a lot of the old neighborhoods that are now being replaced with infills, which still kill me, because you take a skinny house and charge $800,000 for it, but you're still living in a neighborhood full of $400,000 houses. So it's kind of a strange thing that messes with the quality of the old communities.
Absolutely, and it takes the charm away from the old community. Now you're having these Swedish modern nice looking homes, but it doesn't fit with the little character home right next door.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of that in what's that area? Kensington? Not Kensington. The next one over, Inglewood maybe.
I know Glenora, Inglewood. They're starting to get more infills popping up now. Even some of the South Central neighborhoods are starting to get it. Then you've got some of the old money like Donsdale or Westbrook, like Westbrook Heights, things like that. Yeah. And then you have things like Greaseball, which I feel like was a very well-designed community.
Not their plumbing. Heads up, just in case you're looking at purchasing. There's quite a bit of backups in the Greaseball area. I know from friends that their basements have been flooded repeatedly in there, despite the aesthetics. So not everything's as good as it's cracked up to be.
Okay, so it looks good on the surface.
Absolutely.
And then we have the community of tomorrow, which is several tomorrows away.
A lot of tomorrows.
Many thousands of tomorrows away.
I agree.
So, I don't know. What do you think Edmonton is as, like, a city? What is its identity supposed... what do you think it is, and what do you think it's trying to become?
Yeah, I think it has that hardworking Pittsburgh-esque feel to it. I think aesthetically they're going for something else in the green, but it's... I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. It's not... I think it needs to be something uniquely Edmonton, but what is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, we do have our legislature. We do have a lot of government buildings here. But I do feel like Edmonton is primarily a blue-collar city.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people that work up in the rigs, a lot of people that work up in oil and gas, which, every year there are a little less because that industry is getting screwed on all sides.
Potentially.
Very much so, especially with our new environmental minister being a former Greenpeace activist.
Right.
Which is not looking good for Alberta, but so we have Edmonton's hardcore blue-collar roots kind of mixing with a very vibrant art scene, and then we have a whole wave of new Edmontonians from literally all over the world, because Edmonton is trying to become a much more international city now.
One of the fastest growing cities in North America, if I'm not mistaken.
It's growing like crazy.
The food scene is becoming excellent.
The food scene is amazing, because we now have food from literally all over the world. You want Ethiopian food? Got it. Korean food? You got it. Italian food? You got it. Absolutely. Peruvian food? You've got it. Almost every major culinary tradition is active in some location in Edmonton.
There's a new St. Lucian restaurant that's just opened up. I think it's in Brewery District. The St. Lucian Squeeze. So if you're listening, free food. Just kidding. Unless you're down for that. I don't know.
I didn't even know St. Lucia had a specific cuisine.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it blends or borrows from the traditional Caribbean types of things, the Jamaican jerk and all that kind of stuff, but maybe their own spin on it. Because I know I have people who are friends who are Jamaican or friends who are, let's say, Trinidadian, and they both have jerk chicken. Both are distinctly different from one another.
Do they get territorial and say the other one isn't real jerk chicken?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, there's a little rivalry going, but both delicious. A friend of ours makes the most delicious jerk chicken that I've ever had, personally. The Abyss can comment toward that as well. Loves it.
So good. Better than any restaurant.
Perfect. Thanks, Abyss.
There are a few things I like more than those petty rivalries, like the fights where it's not a real fight, like my jerk chicken's better than your jerk chicken, or, my soccer team is better than your soccer team. Football for the international crowd.
Yeah. West Ham.
One of my favorites was years ago when I was doing a bird count, and these two old guys started arguing about the specific classification of a specific type of bird. These guys are both deep into their 70s. That's ridiculous. It doesn't belong in that clade, and the genus says this, but they reclassified it 3 years ago. And I was like, this is hilarious, but they're so passionate about something that nobody else really cares about.
Well, they do.
But they do. They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just one of those things where it doesn't hurt anybody.
No.
Exactly. Like, you're not fighting over, political distinctions or religious stuff. It's like, this bird is this. No, this bird is this.
Right.
And they just get so heated about it.
I like it. I want to get to the point where I can fight over a bird.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Perfect.
Boxing Day bird count. Come on out.
I like it.
It'll be minus 25, minus 30. You can just...
Gourmet chili. Am I correct?
Careful with the chili. You gave me food poisoning 1 year.
Okay.
Every other year it's been fine, but that 1 year was horrific. I was so sick.
What were some of the symptoms, Gary?
Lots of pooping, lots of puking, lots of fever.
Oh.
Yeah, I was opening up on both ends at the same time. Yeah, it was not a good day. But for the two people that are still listening because they have been disgusted, today's November 6th, and anyone that is a fan of the fight game has been blessed. Mm-hmm. We have two great events going on. For boxing, we have Canelo versus Plant.
Absolutely, Canelo, the best pound for pound in the sport of boxing.
And for UFC fans, we have Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman. Mm-hmm. And on the same card, Rose Namajunas versus Weili Zhang, and Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. And honestly,
two very handsome gentlemen.
Marlon Vera versus my boy Frankie Edgar, who I love him to death. I wish he would stop fighting because he is becoming a highlight reel figure for all the wrong reasons.
He's got that fighter's mentality. It's hard to, you see that in boxing throughout the years. And
I think he's from Jersey, and I don't know if Jersey people know when to stop. But
yeah, I mean, Larry Holmes, also from Jersey. He ended up fighting into his 50s, I believe. I think he took a fight with Butterbean.
Oh,
really into his.
I'm hoping he got paid.
I think so. Yeah, I hope so.
Because I know Butterbean's getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who had a niche spot in the industry, kudos, Butterbean. You did a good job.
Oh, it's like Bob Sapp. You just become so ridiculous that everyone's like, I'm going to pay money for this free show. All right, Bob Sapp versus this 110-pound Aikido champion. Right. And you're like, okay, well, I guess we're watching this now.
Absolutely. Get you a spot in a movie with Adam Sandler. Amazing.
Sorry, Bob Sapp was in an Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah, he was in that, what was that prison one, where they played football.
The Longest Yard?
The Longest Yard, yeah. Stone Cold Steve Austin, also Bill Goldberg.
Holy crap.
This I think it actually won Best Picture Academy Awards kind of thing. It was so good.
I did not realize that there was such a star-studded cast.
Yeah. But known actors like Nelly, right?
He was also in, what was that? The Academy. Nelly was in the Academy.
With
the aliens that go into your brain.
That sounds like Nelly.
So you would probably call yourself at least quite knowledgeable about boxing.
Yeah, I think so. Boxing is my jam. I can be encyclopedic with it. I've watched fights from all the way from the 20s to now the 2020s kind of thing. Love myself some boxing.
So what are you thinking about Canelo versus Plant tonight? And also, what are you thinking about the undercard?
The undercard is straight trash. Can we even pull that up? Let's pull that undercard up.
Okay, let's
I understand the dynamics of it too, because the two mains obviously demanded quite a bit of money, so not a lot of money going to the support of the boxing card. However, sometimes that leads to, big time knockouts and mismatches and stuff to kind of push guys forward. But as far as the Canelo versus Plant fight, I do have some predictions. I do think that Canelo is going to walk him down. It's going to last no more than 4 rounds, and I think it's going to be an absolute massacre. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Plant shows up. I do like his kind of personality, that street thing. I do, despite a lot of people not liking his nickname. I think Sweet Hands is a cool one.
It's kind of funny,
right? Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. So the biggest name outside of that card, or on that card, however, is Anthony the Dog Durrell, who's far past his prime. But, he puts on good fights, so hopefully that is, a decent little scrap there. And Ray Vargas is obviously put on some decent shows, so, let's, the undercard obviously could have been better, but I'm really pumped for that main event. Canelo never disappoints.
So there's potential for the undercard.
Yeah, I think so. It's not, obviously, the most marquee of matchups, like the co-main being the Durrell fight, I believe. It could lend itself to being at the very least entertaining. Whether or not it's impactful in the whole boxing stratosphere remains to be seen. So
meanwhile, the UFC card is fucking stacked. It's so stacked.
Because you could have headliners, and they all could have headlined their own card.
All 3 of those could have been their own headliner, because people have been waiting for Gaethje versus Chandler for a long time. Mm-hmm. They both have dynamite in their hands. They're both. They love the camera.
Well, Gaethje had some big wins prior to Khabib was the one that finally ended that streak, right?
Khabib smashed everyone, but
he did.
Justin Gaethje's a monster. He can knock you out in any fashion. Mm-hmm. Michael Chandler has some of the best highlight reel knockouts. We'll probably look at a couple after we're done recording this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rose Namajunas is so fucking slick.
Right.
I've rewatched her knockout of Weili Zhang probably 20 times because it snuck up right in the middle of her guard so well, and just you got your hands up. Okay, I'll just put my foot right in the middle. Hatsa. Good night.
Right, and I do like Rose. I can't say her last name. I won't even.
Namajunas.
But yeah, she seems blood and guts. She's had that fight where she was completely swollen. Still kept coming. It's tough as nails type of person.
And I'll be honest, when I was going into their first fight, mm-hmm. I thought Zhang was going to take it because she's a marauder. Mm-hmm. She's, first off, you've seen her physique.
Oh, absolutely.
She's fucking shredded.
Yeah.
She's a 115-pound former women's champ. I know she could kick the shit out of me, and that's terrifying. So I watched that fight, and I was just like, Zhang's going to walk her down, and then, first round. Pop.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good
what
night
the
is
fuck?
Right. Well, the same thing. I remember watching Amanda Nunes and Cyborg, and I thought Cyborg, because of the size, because of the mythos and the build-up, you thought, she's going to run right through this girl. But she didn't. Nunes steamrolled her, and it was quite impressive. So, you never know what you're going to get, I guess, right? So
for that one, I went in on the fence just because I had been following Nunes for a while, and mm-hmm. I knew she was a fucking monster as well. And I was just like, okay, this is going to be a slugfest. Yeah, and it was.
Absolutely.
And Nunes fucked her up, and Cyborg disappeared.
Yes, she certainly did. Is she even in the promotion anymore? I
think she might have gone back to Invicta.
Yeah, okay.
And then finally we have the main event, Kamaru Usman versus mm-hmm. Colby Covington. And I rewatched that first fight again just the other day, and it was competitive pretty much from start to finish. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of times when Usman almost shut him down. There were a lot of times when Covington almost shut him down. My big concern is that Covington hasn't fought since the last time mm-hmm. he fought Usman, whereas Usman went through Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal, mm-hmm. and he's been keeping sharp. He's been building his skill set. His hands improved so much from the Covington fight up to the Masvidal fight. Everyone was talking about, Masvidal's slick boxing, and mm-hmm. is Usman going to be able to stand and trade? And he knocks him out.
Right. And I think, like in anything, there's levels to this, and I think that even in the first fight, Usman versus Covington, that I think maybe Usman fought to the level of Covington, where I think Usman is a far superior fighter, despite how close it was the first time. I hate the fact that Covington denies the whole jaw breaking thing. We all seen it.
Yeah.
We all know what happened. Your jaw got broke. There's no shame in that. Take it. It was a great fight. We're going to see it again. And maybe Covington wins. Who knows? Maybe Usman, maybe that's his kryptonite. Who knows?
It's totally possible. Like, if Covington's game plan is similar to the first time, there's always a chance because he just swarms on people, takes them into the deep water, and like obviously Usman has a hell of a gas tank too. But yeah, he had opportunities the first time.
Yeah.
Don't know how it's going to play out this time, but either way, that card is going to be.
Yeah. I think we're set up for two dynamite headliners, two main events. I think the Canelo Alvarez Caleb Plant fight is going to be fantastic for as long as it goes. I don't think Caleb Plant has the power to keep Canelo off of him. And I mean, Canelo, like Usman, has constantly improved. He's gone from a guy that maybe at first lacked the head movement required to make the upper echelon when we began fighting, and now he's an expert at the head movement, and he's an expert at angles and footwork and timing, and his check right hook off of the step back is one of the best punches in all of the sport. So I'm really pumped for both. Yeah, pumped for both main events, to be honest. So
as a guy who's been so deep into the boxing scene, and as a guy who's trained at a couple boxing gyms in Edmonton, have you come across any Edmonton talent that you think is going to eventually rise up to some level of recognition? Because I know we had Yelena Mrjanovic.
Yeah.
She was like our big local boxing star for a while.
Yep.
Has there been anybody else moving up the ranks to possibly fill her spot, or a male equivalent of what Yelena did?
Nothing, I think, on the horizon. Canada has a lot of really great fighters. I think most of them are based in the Quebec area, or at least train that way. But we have some like local guys that, like Ryan Ford, for example, that have fought some really high level fights.
And he used to be a mixed martial artist, correct?
Yeah, former mixed martial artist.
Now he's strictly boxing.
Strictly boxing, and but yeah, there's actually a couple guys at the gyms that we've trained at that do show some promise. If they got into it early. If they do keep moving. When we used to train out of Maple Ridge, there was his name is Sabri Sab. I think he is, or Sabri Farouk. He just goes by Sabri Sab on Facebook or on Instagram, whatever. But he is a Canadian light heavyweight champion amateur fighter. But he moves like a pro, and I think he's got a decent future if he stays as committed as he is. And he's doing some big things. He just did a commercial for I think an offshoot of Everlast, so pretty cool. The Abyss and I have both moved around with him a little bit in the past. The guy can bang.
Nice.
So maybe he's that next Canadian kind of star. And he's traveled all over the country working with other high-end boxers, high-end gyms. And actually he trained with Ryan Ford in Montreal, so it was kind of a weird confluence of people in our lives. But yeah, so he might have next that fella.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing him on the news one day. Or
absolutely. Well, I'll show you some clips post podcast here, and yeah, he's quite the impressive fella. So, and a nice kid.
Is there anything else you wanted to chat about before we wrap up for this episode then?
No, I think we're good. It actually went a lot faster than I anticipated, and hopefully it turns out, and I'll hopefully be on again.
Well, thank you very much, and adios. Share the podcast.